So, Squad's Infantry Overhaul is here, and well, let's talk about it a little. First of all, if you haven't checked out all the changes and patch notes from the update, I will leave it in the description below and you can go check it out. It's just way too much stuff to cram into this video. I actually want to focus on what OWI said this update was meant to accomplish, and what they have done that had a substantial impact on gameplay, and even some stuff they haven't touched, and they should change or even bring back some features from the early days. This video is made after playing the new update in every infantry role there is. I currently have around 2,600 hours in Squad and have played this game since 2017, having followed all their development and updates since. In fact, you can confirm that with the earliest video on the channel being the first time as a player when the team I was in won the round by 1 ticket. Back then, it was ridiculously rare. Quick reminder to like and subscribe if you like the content. Side effects may include watching more videos and becoming an extra in the next 007 sex scene. These are the stated goals for 6.0. The Infantry Combat Overhaul intends to create the most fun, immersive, authentic, and teamwork-oriented infantry combat experience possible. The goals are to increase the amount of teamwork needed to win a fight, create more meaningful trade-offs between different factions, weapon types, and optic types, keep the game fun while making it more approachable for new and existing players, mitigate the amount of punishment newer players experience in combat while learning the game. First, let's start with the PIP, the picture-in-picture scopes. There are a few ups and downs here, but overall, I don't fully object to how they are done. I haven't had any issues with bugs and actually took quite well to them, having been top infantry fragger for half the rounds I played. However, I would like to point out a few things. The sway that you have when you ADS seems excessive. It's almost like trying to look through a telescope in a boat in stormy seas. A bit too much in my opinion, and I would like to see it turned down around 20 to 30% for all stances in all stamina states. I just feel like your typical infantryman does not have to work through a hangover every time he uses his scope. Overall a win, but I would make some tweaks. Second, we have Suppression. Now here, there are a few things I would like to see changed. I don't particularly dislike it, but again, some things are too much in the realm of imagination. I tested this many times, and the idea of being suppressed when the shots passing are over 3 meters away from me, and I know the shooter doesn't have the line of sight to me at all, is just too much. So you're going to encounter situations when you get in cover and continue to get suppressed even if the shots are passing or impacting meters away from you. Now here's a compromise, OWI. Why not make suppression a thing when the enemy actually has a line of sight to you or close to it? I honestly had to stop and just look around to see who was being shot at, sometimes over 5 meters away, only to realize I was being suppressed from way beyond my line of sight. I cannot say for sure this was intended or a bug, but as is, it's way too much. Now when you're actually being shot at, it's great. You get used to it after a while and can find ways to kind of work through it, but overall it's a good draft of what it could be. Thirdly, we have movement overall. I know I could have split this one in several parts, but there isn't much to say from my perspective except that it's good. After you get the hang of it and its many quirks, it's fine. You actually have to think about what you're doing when you move. When to move, how to move, where to move to. It's honestly like when you're kids and you're being taught how to use a crosswalk by your parents. Okay, first reload, recover stamina, then take a peek, look around, coast is clear. Now bolt across and into cover immediately to recover the stamina you lost and restore the ability to shoot accurately again. It's a whole process now, and I for one agree with it except for one thing. Stamina drain when sprinting. It's just too high. I would personally like for it to be half at the very least. To be clear, OWI, I'm asking for the stamina drain to be halved when sprinting. Or if you prefer, stamina to be doubled, not for double the speed. You have to be clear about these things or one day you might get blamed for something misunderstood. Fourth, gameplay. See, these changes to scopes, movement, suppression, and other stuff have had a profound impact on the gameplay, but not exactly the intended one. You see, with these changes, the pace has reduced significantly, but for the wrong reasons. Let me explain. The changes in the movements, stamina, and scopes, if you are caught out in the open, sprinting, or just walking, in general, you are dead. That's it. You cannot shoot back, you cannot run, you're just done for. Same thing goes for when you start to move. Everyone is just hiding, holding angles, and turning into bush Wookiees, so when you move, even if it's just a little, it's game over. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but combined with the other game mechanics at the moment, it makes positional fighting so OP. You can't really attack a point sometimes. At least half the matches I was in ended within 30 minutes or less, thanks to one team playing the points full on and just moving on the next, never mind the typical first or second point rushes at the beginning of the match in AAS. You see, a squad rushes the first and second point at the beginning, they get the point, and now with the positional benefits to fights that benefit defenders so much, the other team really has to struggle to get that point back, maybe even committing the entire team versus just one squad. This makes the rounds over too quickly, and it all comes down to the ticket bleed most of the time. Teamwork and comms are only beneficial if your team just blitzes through the points, and this is detrimental to the game and their stated goals. In my opinion, there needs to be some addressing to the steamroll effect, present in many rounds before and honestly after this update. But OWI already have the solution, or at least they did back in the day. But I will come back to this in a minute. Before that, I want to compare what I experienced in the game to their stated goals. Have they increased the amount of teamwork needed to win a fight? No, not at all. Maybe within the squad itself, but overall teamwork is mostly unaffected. The meta remains the same. Fob spam, rush attack, sneak logic plants, etc. An ultra-aggressive squad can just cap the points from under the enemy team and push for the last cap ticket bleed in 10-15 minutes of the round starting. Are the factions more balanced? Not in the scopes department, but this one needs more time playing to judge. Are they keeping the game fun while making it approachable for new and existing players? No. If almost every round plays the same, if the fob spam stays the same, and if overall only individual ultra-aggressive behavior is nerfed, but not team ultra-aggressive behavior, the rounds will remain short, steamrolls will continue to be common, and the fun is artificially reduced, while dumbing down all aspects of gameplay to simple metas based on ultra-aggression. Did they succeed in mitigating the amount of punishment newer players experience in combat while learning the game? Yes. Of this, there is no doubt. Before, I could push a corner, full sprint, and gun down a group of Timmies with near-perfect accuracy. Now, forget it. The movement and aim nerfs have been extremely effective on this aspect, and have definitely made a positive impact. Continuing with the gameplay aspect of Squad, there are a few things they have said in the past that point me in a certain direction. They have said they don't really like when matches are over too quickly, when it's just a steamroll, and running and gunning. The latter has been addressed on this update. Folks that are patient are at a massive advantage, and defenders really have been catered to in this update. So how exactly do you address the problems with out-of-control steamrolls match after match? Well, in my opinion, it only happens because there is nothing for the attacking team to manage that can hinder the uncontrolled advance. Since there's no real punishment for losing a fob, ultra-aggressive teams just place 7, 8, sometimes 10 or 12 on the battlefield, and spawn at the attacking point behind the enemy team. And there's nothing to stop them, unless you have a squad in the rear, in the point behind the one you're actually defending. One SL with a combat engineer can just load up the logi and place 3 or more fobs with habs and ammo per trip, meaning when your team captures the point they're attacking, everyone that is dead can just spawn at the next point and cap it unopposed. This should not be possible because it ultimately undermines every inch of vehicle play and actually moving your team to the next point to attack. Now, as I said, OWI already have the answer, or at least they did. Fob limits. Limit the number of active fobs a team can have to 3 or 4 max, 1 per full infantry squad. For example, let's say you capture Hilltop Bunker Ruins here in the middle, and there is an SL moving to trenches to place the next one. He would need to communicate to another SL to remove the fob at Industrial Park, for example, and once it's gone, then he could place the new one in trenches. The point is, the advance is halted or slowed if the team doesn't communicate and manage their fob numbers. If they want to place a new one behind enemy lines, they need to make sure they have one available to place. And once they do, if they get on the back foot and need one at the rear to spawn defenders, they're screwed. This feature was a thing back in the day and perfectly portrays the dangers of being too aggressive when not in full control, because the enemy team could just hang on to one of your radios, for example, and not let you use it again. It is a great solution and makes 1000% more sense to come back, especially since the introduction of the commander role. He can control the strategy and the usage of these fobs, forcing the entire team to work together, the SLs to work together, ensuring that teams would actually have to work together, communicate, and manage the number of radios they put down. One of the saddest moments of playing Squad was when they took it out and the fob spam began. Teams broke apart and ultra-aggressive squads were giving every benefit. Steamrolls became a thing. It was a small-scale disaster. Some rounds were over in less than 15 minutes. I don't know about you, but fast rounds aren't really fun to me. I want to be in the long, hard-fought rounds, which are won by only a handful of tickets. The rounds that last over an hour and both teams have to have fighting chance. Throw infinite fobs in the mix with this update that benefits positional fights, and it's even worse. Also, make radio or fob placement cost build points and actually have to be built, not just pooped out of thin air. Maybe the SL makes a blueprint, the Logi or Heli drops like 250 build for it, and then a squad mate digs it up. Fobs and habs are too easy and too fast to deploy, making rallies just a backup for spawning instead of actually being used. This is in line with the increase of the importance of fobs and their protection. It should be clear that in the ticket management during the match, losing a single fob could tip the scales dramatically. I could also make the argument for non-retrievable fobs, since they're supposed to be fucking forward operating bases. You place them, and that's it. Each team would have a maximum of 5 fobs to use in a match, 3 of them not recoverable, leaving the enemy team down to 2 maximum placeable fobs for the rest of the round if they play too fast and loose with them. This would be amazing to see in my opinion, and honestly could be the key to squads working together. But I don't think W-key SLs are ready for it. Next up, main bases. I believe a main base should present itself as something to fear getting close to in general. On this belief, I suggest the introduction of a main base defense system to prevent main camping. It is one of the most stupid parts of open map warfare. The idea that an entire team can be hindered tremendously by a few dudes sitting outside the enemy's main base is just nuts to me. In the age of constant aerial surveillance, both from satellites and especially from drones, I believe we need to introduce a main base AI defense system kind of similar to what War Thunder does in air battles for their main airfield. Something with range up to almost the first point in every map to counter main base camping and give them something to fear. Allowing a single sapper the ability to lock down an enemy main base with the just mines is ridiculous. For example, in smaller maps, introduce like a dual AI mortar system that would track and shoot enemies within range. Then on larger maps, have an artillery system to do the job. And for cheeky pilots trying to ram enemy helis just outside their main base, then a SAM system to shoot them down if they get too close. This would be a decent addition to both ensure the idea of a main deploying base and an area of extreme danger for the enemy. Lastly, squad lanes. Please, for the love of God, OWI, figure out a way to make the points in RAS or random advance and secure completely random or unpredictable. The fact that right now, playing squad means you have to have squad lanes open to figure out the path and where the points will be, if only for the fact the enemy team might have someone using it to gain an advantage and you need to counter it, is just stupid. RAS was supposed to be this speculative, slow push to the middle by both teams never knowing where the next point was going to be, with maybe a squad or two gambling on the positions and doing a controlled push for a further area in hopes it would end up being a point they could deny to the enemy team. Now, it's just normal Advance and Secure, or AAS for short, with an extra step. There is no randomness past the first few minutes. It just feels wrong to me. This update did address quite a few things I have been advocating for to bring Squad to a more teamwork-oriented game, and for that I congratulate them. Better late than never. However, they were too aggressive in some things and in others went about it the wrong way. Yes, slowing or stopping steamrolls is important, but not by hamstringing every infantryman and ending up promoting fob spam even more without anything to counter it. I honestly love Squad. It is my most played game on Steam, and I have been an enjoyer for over 6 years now, always advocating for it, for more players to come in and continued success. I wish it never goes away, except for when Squad 2 comes out, wink wink. With that said, I think some mechanics should have never left, like the fob limit, and some should have been better made, like Ross, for example. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the future of Squad? Are you excited or unhappy with the Infantry Overhaul update? Do you have any other suggestions on how to improve or refine Squad's gameplay loop? Leave it in the comments below. Just please be respectful. Leave a like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.